All right, so to get started with email verification here, what I want to do is just get everybody on the same page here and talk about the basic email verification flow. Because the thing is that there's a few different ways we could possibly go about this, as you might be used to hearing by now. And a lot of this depends on the amount of functionality we want users to be able to access before they've actually verified their email. Now, the first way, and probably the easiest way, is to only allow users to access anything except the login and create account page if they've already verified their email address, right? So essentially what that would look like is the user would create their account. Okay, they would put in their email, their password, their confirm password, and they would click on the button to create an account. And what this would do is it would simply show them a page that says, thanks, you need to verify your email now in order to actually use any of the app. And once they've done that, then and only then would they be able to log into our application and use all the functionality that it provides, right? So only then would they be able to access all of the other pages. So that's the easiest way to do it, and that's probably the way that we're going to start off with, but just to show you that there are, in fact, other ways and how those things might work, let's discuss some of the other things you could do, right? One thing that I see quite often nowadays is basically websites that let you use the entire site and simply have little pieces of functionality here or there that you can't do unless you're logged in. All right, so an example of that comes to mind would be something like Zillow, where you can see all of the houses and stuff on there, right? But it's not until you actually want to say, I like this house, that they make you create an account. Okay, and the same thing is probably true with sites like Airbnb, right? Other sites like Spotify, for example, let you listen to songs, I believe, without creating an account. But if you want to actually save any of those songs, or if you want to listen to it without advertisements, then you have to create an account. And in most cases, pay. So in that situation, it's a little bit trickier because you can use and access all of the different pages on the site, but basically each page is looking to see, is the user logged in, right? And if the user is logged in, then they'll maybe display a little heart button that lets you like things. Maybe over here it will display your profile picture. Maybe over here it will display some kind of button that only logged in users can click, etc. Right? Or maybe it shows all of those things, and only when those things are actually clicked does it show a modal asking you to log in, right? So if the user clicks on these things, it says, cool, you want to do that? Create an account, and the create account page might pop up in a modal where the user can just enter in all of their information, etc. And, then of course they would have to verify their email at some point, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at when I talk about how restricted do we want our site to be for users who haven't verified their email address. Well, in my experience, a lot of it comes down to how likely you think it is that someone will try and hack your site or manipulate your site or just bother users on your site, right? As an example here with our note sharing application, essentially what users are allowed to do through our app is share a note with anybody just by entering their email. Now, this is probably something that's pretty prone to hacking and abuse, because essentially what somebody could do is just go on and try and advertise by sending this to a lot of different emails, send it to an entire email list and see who has an account. And, all of those people would suddenly see these bogus notes show up like big sale, right? That kind of thing. And so that could be pretty prone to abuse. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure that users have verified their email address before they're allowed to use our site. Okay, so essentially we're going to go with what we talked about beforehand, the first strategy we talked about, which is when the user logs in. All right, just to kind of review that flow, when the user creates an account, rather, they're going to create an account first. Once they do that, it's going to say, great, thank you for doing that. Please go verify your email now. It's going to actually send them an email. This is going to be something we're going to see how to implement here. Okay, so this will actually send an email to their email address, which I'm going to represent like this. And essentially the way that this works is that email is going to contain a special code that they'll only be able to have if they actually own that email address. right? If right now you go and sign up for a given site and it makes you verify your email address, what you're going to see is that that email will contain some kind of link like, HTTPS, blah, 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 whatever the site's called. And then it will have some kind of query parameter. It's usually a query parameter. It could be a URL parameter as well, I suppose. And it'll have something like code equals blah, blah, blah at the end. That's basically what they're doing there, right? They're generating a secret code on the server that the user can't see unless they own that email. So we're going to see how to do that here as well. But basically, this link, when the user clicks it, is going to mark their email as verified on the server. And depending on whether or not that's successful, right, depending on whether or not the user has already verified their email or whether or not the code doesn't work, that kind of thing, the server is going to redirect them either to a success page like this or to a failure page, probably with a frowny face on it, of course, that says something went wrong with your email verification or maybe you've already verified, that sort of thing. All right, and from there, once the user has actually verified their email, it's going to have them log in through the login page, which I've drawn very small here, but you get the idea. So it's a little bit of a complicated flow here. We have the account creation, we have the page here, we have the sending of emails, we have the user clicking that email and it bringing them to one of these pages here. So that's 4 or 4. And finally, we have the user logging in. So that's going to be the basic process. Now, if this doesn't make complete sense yet, don't worry too much about that. We're going to see how to implement everything as we get started. So I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.